So this is like more fun.
Hi, this is Cristina Dam, and this is Liberate the Podcast, where we educate, motivate, inspire, and liberate your consciousness. From spirituality, holistic healing, to creativity and conscious business, we've got your mind, body, and spirit covered. Welcome to another episode of Liberate the Podcast. So there has been a craze, especially in California, but it's kind of overtaking the whole United States on cannabis and CBD and, ever since it's been legal here, but many states are taking suit, and a lot of people are left with some confusion about, what are these products good for? What are their benefits? How are they used? And there's so much variety being flooded into the market. And so, today's podcast is talking to an expert. I consider her an expert. She's diving in. She's an influencer within the cannabis and CBD realm. She teaches ganja yoga, and she is, so she's wrapped in the spiritual and, it's plant medicine, right? So Tatiana, welcome.
Thank you.
And so tell everybody a little bit about yourself. I just gave a kind of a small intro, but I'd like to hear a little bit more, and they would too, about who you are.
Long story short, I love cannabis. I've always used cannabis to heal, to calm down, to relax. Sometimes I, as a younger kid, didn't know exactly what it was doing for me, and getting high is super fun and all that good stuff. But it's actually a very healing and calming and medicinal plant, which I came to learn about when I got in a bad car accident. So I would use it for fun, cannabis, marijuana, all the things, sometimes edibles, but I'm more of a flower person. But then I got in a bad car accident. I broke 2 parts of my neck. I tore my lower back, and I was kind of just in a daze for 6 months. And part of that was I had nerve damage in my brain. I had a really bad concussion. And I started reading about CBD and all the things, and I was like, whoa, there's way more to marijuana than just me getting high or having a good time. So I started diving really deep into CBD and the hemp plant. One of my best friends is a doctor of cannabis, so I started working with him and learning more from him. And hemp is a magical plant in terms of all the things that it can provide for our society, let alone its medicinal properties. But it can replace plastic and the 25,000 things that hemp can do.
You can wear it.
Yeah.
You can drink out of it. You can
do literally anything.
You can build tables out of it.
Anything you can do with
plastic
you can do with hemp. So I think it's just a revolutionary plant. It kind of went down in the dungeon for a long time, but now it's revitalizing and coming to be. And I'm proud that I can be an advocate of it and actually use it to heal myself. So during that 6 months, I started taking CBD. After that, I started doing more practicing with meditating with cannabis and doing yoga with cannabis, but purposefully, and not just not for fun, a very methodical practice that I was okay, I'm going to take the CBD, I'm going to sit down and meditate, I'm going to focus on myself and try to really heal my body. And then I started getting into a more spiritual aspect of the hemp plant. And then I quit my corporate job. I went to Peru and studied plant medicine. I went to Costa Rica and I became a yoga teacher. And then I came back to LA and I met you. And then I dived way more into the spiritual world. And I'm just super glad that I can be a teacher and come into more of my healing modalities and learn more from people like you, and add Reiki to the things I do. And yoga has always been my healing modality. So to be a teacher now and to be able to share that really feels special to me.
And to hear your story and your journey about what the cannabis plant has done for you, on a spiritual level, on a physical level, on a healing level. And a lot of times people want to know, right? There's questions like, is this really medicinal, or whatever the things that come up in people's minds. But you're a walking, talking example, and it's not just like, oh yeah, I had shoulder pain and so I use this ointment. No, did you just hear her? She broke her neck and all of this stuff, and was massive concussion. You're still healing and repairing from that, and so this is major physical trauma to the body that you're utilizing this as an aid to transform your life.
Absolutely. And I guess it's something I should say is one of the big reasons why I dived into it so much is because I wouldn't take the medicines that they were giving to me. I mean, muscle relaxers, Vicodin, painkillers, like just stop crying, just wanted me to stop complaining, but that was not healing me in the least. So, I wouldn't even take it, I took it probably in my worst time, maybe the first month, but after that I wouldn't take any of it. And so I was like, I need to find something that will help me, because I can't just sit here
Wow. And did somebody recommend it to you, or did you just go down, the wormhole oracle called Google?
I went down the wormhole called my friends and asking a lot of questions and kind of seeing what I could do besides smoking, because I knew smoking made me feel better. It took my mind off of things. It let me relax a bit, but what could I really do to start the healing process? And my friend Matt McLean, he's a doctor of cannabis, and he kind of told me way more about the hemp plant that I never really understood and didn't open myself up to. But then when I did, it was like, whoosh, holy Moses, there is so much to learn. And then I started working with different cannabis brands and trying all the new latest and greatest things that I could try, and just seeing what really worked for me. So I was kind of experimenting on myself. Yeah,
and what really did work for you?
Honestly, when I started taking tinctures regularly, I would try them and put them away and do what I wanted.
Now, are these tinctures that are with CBD, or are these tinctures with THC, or is this a combination tincture?
So for the most part, when I take tinctures, I take CBD pure hemp oil. Okay. So it's 100%, usually less than 0.03% THC.
And just in case, there might be people that understand what the difference is that are listening, but for those that don't, what is the difference?
So marijuana is the plant that gets you high. It contains THC and CBD. THC is the component, is the cannabinoid that creates the high effect. CBD is non-psychoactive and it does not get you high. And the hemp plant is different than the marijuana plant. They're cousins. They're one of the same, but they're a different plant. And the hemp plant is where we get our stock to create the fiber and to create the twine and the yarn and the clothes and the hemp plastics and things like that. And then the marijuana plant is where we get the flowers that we smoke and things like that has THC. So you can smoke hemp flower, but it'll be pure CBD, no THC, which is great. And I think people, now that they know that, they're like, oh, I don't have to get high, but I can feel good and still, smoke hemp.
And she represents or has this brand that she's introduced me to that are, CBD cigarettes, and they're pretty awesome.
Yeah, and they actually help people stop smoking, if that's... It's hard to understand, but it is true. And
no, because it makes sense, because I've treated a lot of people through the years to quit smoking for hypnosis, but a large portion of it is behavioral pattern, right? And so there is the addiction part that's a part of it, but if you get beyond the addiction part, the majority of the impulses to grab a cigarette or to have a cigarette, first thing in the morning or after a meal or after sex or whatever those linkages are.
Right.
If you're giving yourself something, it's the same thing when people try to cut down or cut back or cut off drinking, and they still want to go to a bar. It's one of the biggest things. It's still get a drink.
Yeah.
Get a cranberry juice, do something, but have that, holding that in your hand.
Totally.
Because most of it is that psychosomatic type of response that we just need that,
Absolutely.
So that it makes sense that it would help.
Yeah, and then in a healthier way, you can use a vape, and then you won't be inhaling smoke, which is kind of what we also don't want, but it evens itself out.
Hey, the better of two evils, right?
Exactly. But I don't know if I'm going to say this properly right now, but I did read that cannabis does help your lungs. It does help repair your lungs. So as you might be smoking it and it could be hurting your lungs, it's also a repair. So
Interesting.
it's very interesting. Yeah.
Okay.
It's so medicinal that it helps you.
Okay. So you're. I lost my question that you were going down because
we went down the wormhole.
We went down a wormhole. So you were figuring out what worked best for you.
Totally.
And so
and oils.
And so you're doing these tinctures, and the tinctures that you were using. What are they're predominantly CBD based.
Predominantly CBD, although I ingest THC regularly, so I feel like I always had like a THC CBD combination.
Okay.
And CBD is something I never had, so I was adding kind of CBD to my THC diet, so to speak.
Okay. And what does the THC do for you besides get you high? Is that like a pain reliever? Like what is that?
Absolutely. THC is anti-inflammatory. It's a pain reliever. It's similar to CBD, but it doesn't have that component that gets you high. And CBD actually...
You mean THC gets you high. You mean CBD.
Yes. And CBD actually, because it's non-psychoactive, if you were too high, you can take a dose of CBD to like calm yourself down and be less high.
Okay, but the THC, what does that do for you specifically?
THC is it's like your medicinal Advil.
Okay.
Yeah, you're taking an anti-inflammatory, you're calming your body down, you're relieving pain. You can't, in this whole new cannabis world, they don't really want you to claim medical things.
Yeah.
So in terms of like personally, what like I know that
it does for you. Like that's
I take it to replace Advil.
Okay.
So it is definitely a medicine. Like all the things that it says it treats, all the symptoms, I believe to be true. And those symptoms that are, say, of like heart, much worse diseases like Parkinson's or things like this that are like nerve problems and all of those like things. CBD helps because it helps your nervous system. THC helps because it helps calm your whole body. Like that's why it really is like an overall it's really great for you, because even your endocannabinoid system helps control the homeostasis in your body. So when that is off, cannabinoids can help bring you back to balance.
Interesting. Yeah, because I've heard that it can be good for not only physical pain, psychological, like helping treat depression, anxiety, low energy, you know, all of that, you know.
And the right dose, it's so funny. It's about dosing yourself properly too, because the right dose will give you some energy, but if you take a stronger, more potent dose, then you might be way more relaxed and be ready for sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that was the problem. I don't smoke like THC, but when I used to, like on occasion, the reason that I don't is every time I would, it would just like knock me out.
Yeah.
Like I'd be like, I need to go to bed. Whereas I can definitely get on the CBD bandwagon because that doesn't make me fall asleep.
Yeah.
And, but let's talk a little bit about this inflammation correction, because a lot of the research that I do on looking at all of these different health problems, but also the different aspects of people being off of balance, and whether that is mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, whatnot. It seems like we are living in this overly inflamed society, and that the core of most people are living with this like inflammation, and that might manifest, and people might have it as joint problems and pains and different things, or but it's far more than that. And so I'm just curious about this effect on inflammation, because it's rooted at the root cause of almost every different ailment.
Yeah.
Think about it. Inflammation. Okay, I'm not a doctor, but I'm just giving you guys the cliff notes of what I've digested and how I've looked at it. But inflammation is saying that your body's in constant fight or flight,
right,
and it's producing all this extra white blood cells to fight whatever it thinks it's fighting, and so it's in this like over attack mode.
Yep.
And so your immune system is weakened and compromised. And then where are all those other blood cells going? Oftentimes this is forming autoimmune diseases, right? And your body's starting to attack itself because it's like, I got all this extra cells that I created. What do I do with them? Well, I don't know what I'm attacking, but I'm attacking myself.
Yeah, totally.
You know?
Mm-hmm. So taking CBD what I've learned is taking CBD on a regular basis. Like, you can take it once here and there and like it'll help and you'll feel good. But taking it on a regular basis is really what will get into your bloodstream and help your overall system. So if you are a constant inflammation like I am because of my like muscle spasms and things like that, taking it every day, then I see a result. Yeah. Then I see the overall calmness in my mind, in my body, in my muscles. Oh my God, the difference between me taking CBD regularly or me like forgetting about it for a week, like I can instantly tell like in the elasticity of my muscles. Wow. It's crazy because I'm just so sensitive. I'm in constant fight or flight. Like, my doctors have told me that. Like, my body is just like at a state of like running away from itself. So I take CBD so I can at least try to, like, my body can be somewhat at peace.
Yeah.
Yeah. The inflammation it's serious.
And so you've been taking it regularly for how long?
When I can remember regularly, I would say for the most part, like a year and a half.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you've went through periods of time when you've went off of it and you've noticed how much it is helping.
Totally. Yeah.
Now, is this something that you feel that you might have to be on for the rest of your life, or is your body going to start to correct now that it's not under attack all the time, that it can start to repair?
I think I'm finding a balance now, and I don't necessarily take it every day, but I think for the next, while I'm still healing, because I do have some problems. And while I'm still healing, I would probably treat it as like, an Aleve a day, or, some people for their heart take an aspirin a day.
Yeah.
I'll treat it like that probably for the next like 6 months to a year, until I feel like I'm strong enough to take it on. But I don't think I'll ever stop smoking weed. So I just don't know.
Hey,
that's gonna be lifetime.
Everybody has their thing, Some people they want to have their glass of wine. If you want to have your joint or whatever, vape,
do what you gotta
do. There's differences. We're all living and we all have our little vices, right? Mm-hmm. Now with this, overflow, I see, of all of these different brands and products in the marketplace. Yep. How do people know what are good and what are bad?
Yeah, it's hard out there. And I've even seen like things in like little drugstores popping up, like, not, you know what I mean? You're like, oh, where did this come from? So I would be really cautious about the brand. Always read about the brand that you're looking for. Make sure everything is tested. That's probably number one now that things are legal. If it's going through the legal process, it usually should be tested 3 times at 3 different points of its processing. And that should be either on a label or somewhere you can scan so that it pops up.
Now, what are they testing for?
They're testing for pesticides and other things like that should not be in your body. And you shouldn't be vaping them. They shouldn't be in any pure oil. So they're testing for those things. They test it in the plant form, in the oil form, and then in the form that it's sold.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, is this just a one-time test, or is this like, they pass the test and then all of a sudden they're, grabbing the product lines that are, which is interesting to me because I feel like they grow tobacco with pesticides.
Yeah.
And they do. And so it's interesting to me that they're setting this mark, and like all of like how much produce is sold in our grocery stores and stuff that people aren't even washing their carrots. The carrot's not as big of a deal, but their lettuces or like kale and stuff like that. Yeah. They found so many pesticides and different minerals on kales lately that the healthy kale is now the bad kale.
Yikes.
But it's like, but they have a testing for this. I mean, I'm just like a little shocked to that, the counterpart of like, let's just call it tobacco, or you have vegetables that have no regulations on the pesticides. Go ahead, sell them in the store. Just tell the people that they should wash them first.
That is really strange. And they're treating it as a medicine is why I do kind of understand the testing thing, but we're still eating it, and
you go to your average American restaurant, is using produce that is coated in pesticides, guarantee it. Like your few organic, more bougie places, maybe they like streamline what they get, but so that actually, like, you know, I'm sorry, I'm dwelling, or like, you know, stuck on this, but
actually an interesting question.
you know, like, because it just shows and proves how bad pesticides are. Like that because they're wanting to test this at 3 different points through the process, you know, we don't want those pesticides in your body. Man. If you're getting treated for these medical ailments, I'm just floored.
Now mind is blown.
The logic of you know, I'm really happy for this cause. I just wish that we could convert that into other things, you know, and maybe say goodbye to Roundup and some other stuff that
would be amazing. Jeez. Yeah, I'm with you there. But yeah, so I don't know. There's a lot of things to look out for. Organic is one of them, just like our food. Or being organic is probably one of the cleanest ways to consume cannabis.
Yeah, because that's another thing I'm going to touch on, because, you know, it's pretty common knowledge. Maybe not everybody that's listening knows this, but there's a lot of genetic alteration in marijuana, right? You know, there's, you know, THC is now engineered to be about 5 to 10 times stronger than what it grew at one point in nature, and you know, so they're doing all these hybrids of plants and upping the THC, lowering the CBD, or upping the CBD, lowering the THC. There are all these alterations and modifications, but you know, where is that good and where is that bad, right? Because you know, and is there something that you can find, just an organic strain of a CBD that hasn't been genetically modified? Because organic is different than GMO.
Yeah. Totally. And you're saying GMO is terms of like any hybrid too?
Yeah, like any hybrid, any cross, any laboratory.
Manipulation. Yeah, a lot of things are, and it's funny because some people are saying that they don't know what the original strains are.
Ah, interesting.
Some people are saying that, and then some people are saying, "No, we have the seeds. We grew this. You know, there's a life that you watch." Like,
well, you know, and it doesn't mean all hybrids. I mean, there's different things. So, you know, Dr. Savy says no hybrids. You know, like, you know, so carrots. Guess what? If you eat carrots at home, carrots, broccoli, cauliflower, all hybrids. You know, like, those weren't in nature. They say that there was one origin of carrots that came from Egypt that are purple. Other than that, those orange guys that you find in the supermarket, those are all hybrids. So broccoli is a hybrid, cauliflower is a hybrid. I know, I was shocked too. Those are some of my favorites.
Broccoli is a hybrid of what?
It's a hybrid. I forget what they put. They made it.
Wow.
They made broccoli, and then they made cauliflower, all those things, And so
I'm shocked.
And carrots too.
What?
Yeah. Hybrids.
This is weird.
Yeah, they're not real. I mean, they weren't, I mean, they're real, but they're not real. They weren't natural, you know?
That's a bummer.
Yeah. You know what also is interesting? A cow is a hybrid. Not natural.
What about the milk?
So the milk that you're drinking is coming from hybrid. It's
Maybe you're drinking it.
Well, I mean, if you use creamer in your coffees, like 80% of the population. But the cows come from a buffalo and something else bred together, but they're not like a donkey. They can still reproduce, but they are 2 different offshoots.
Maybe that's why we shouldn't be drinking milk.
Hey, you know, right? You know, but you choose what you do. That's
no judgment here.
No judgment. But, you know, so, I mean, a lot of people will argue that broccoli is really good for you, even though it's a hybrid, or cauliflower and stuff.
I see. The purity of it all.
So, you know, like, it's not to say, you know, there's different schools of thought. But when we're looking at it, and you're seeing this mass flow into the industry, let's go back to, how do you find the good brands, right?
Yep.
And how do you, you know, really know, like, okay, there's the testing, but if the testing happens once annually or whenever it happens, you know, you don't know what the product from point A to point B is going to be in between if they already passed their certification, right? You know? So, but there's companies and there's brands and there's places that maybe, you know, or stamps of approval or something like that. Is there anything that people can look for?
In terms of the CBD, like what?
Well, like let's talk about CBD, and then let's talk about the THC, and let's talk about how do they find and source good products, because I know that there's going to be many more products that pop up, And there's, you walk into a weed store, right? Like it's like ceiling to wall. There's all these different brands. It's like, how do you know?
I mean, there are so many brands that it's absolutely overwhelming, and I totally understand that. Walking into a weed shop, you're going to see probably like 80 jars of flower. And the only way you're going to know where that flower came from is by asking the bud tender. All of the flower that stays like open or that they're like packaging themselves, good luck. You know what I mean? That's part of like the wild, wild west of cannabis. All of this cannabis is coming from some farm, some mom and pop, something. Now that it's all being tested, there are like papers people can show you, people can pull out lab tests, but some shops you walk into aren't going to be like that. Like if you want to go to a shop that's fully licensed, there's a list of them online, and you can look up all the licensed shops. There's like 100-ish of them. And then anything that's not on that list, you might not want to go into because they might not have tested flower and things like that.
Okay, so that's interesting to know. I didn't know this. I thought if you see a shop on the street, they're licensed.
Not necessarily. So you might want to look up the address and look up the actual shop because some are not supposed to be there. All the new ones that are popping up are legal. They're going through the whole process. And usually all the flower is from a reputable brand, whether it's Lowell or Candescent or like there's a ton.
I was just going to ask if you have some, I know that you're not being endorsed.
I don't want to,
But if there's a couple that, know that you would say, like, look out for these ones, you find that they're pretty good.
Yeah, 100%. Like Lowell, just like I said, Lowell and Candescent are probably my top 2 flower brands. They just provide a great product. It's tested, it's sun grown, and all those beautiful things that you want to see in your flower. And it's well packaged and beautiful. And that's what you want to see cannabis as. You want to see it as like a high end, well groomed, beautifully packaged, like. Yeah,
if they care that much about their packaging, they probably care about
their flower and where it comes from and who their farmers are and if they have an organic farm or not. And I think all of that is very special. And in terms of CBD, I work with a ton of brands. One of them is I Am Artemis, and they're from San Diego, and their flower is amazing. Like they have flower, they have tinctures, they have vapes, they have all the things, and it's tested, it tastes good, it's organic, it's full spectrum, and full spectrum means that they're using the whole of the cannabis plant versus like some people are extracting all the CBD from the plant, taking it and putting it in.
Okay.
And then some people are actually using the whole plant, using all the terpenes and whatever other cannabinoid properties are in the plant to create the medicine.
Interesting.
And so that is a big difference. I would say just like a whole food, you would rather eat an orange than just take a fake vitamin C pill, something like that. So that's kind of the difference there. So full spectrum is a really good thing to look for if you want kind of a better CBD product. So,
interesting. See, I wouldn't have known that. Okay, so look for full spectrum.
Yeah.
And look for all the lab testing. And what else? Anything else that you want to talk about or share about before we come to a close?
Just that, using CBD and cannabis in your everyday life to me is a lifestyle choice. And it's kind of like, I would say it's not a diet. So it's not something that you try and it's a fad. It's more of like, how do you add it into your everyday to make you feel good? Is it something that you use to go to sleep? Is it something that you use before you have to, go out for your hectic day because you need a calm mind and body? Like, how do you want to use cannabis? What does it mean to you? And what do you want the effects to be? Because the effects can be anything you really want them to be. If you want to have more energy, if you want to be more relaxed, if you want to get high, if you just want to feel better in a day, like all of these are possible. So it's really about experimenting. Call me if you need me.
So speaking of that, where can they get a hold of you?
I am Sweet Tatas. My name's Tatiana, but you can find me at sweettatas.com or Instagram and Facebook at Sweet Tatas.
Awesome. All right, so I kind of cut you off there, but
it was good.
If you were saying call me, so I'm like, how do they get a hold of you? I don't know that you want to give out your number, but we can have somebody who you can direct message her, or
Absolutely. But yes.
And then one other thing that you could leave people with, what would it be?
What I've learned in my long use of cannabis is that it's really about respecting the plant. Respecting anything you do, you will get a better response from it. So no matter what you're using cannabis for, as long as you're respecting it, I think it'll help you feel a little bit better.
Well, what do you mean by respecting? I want to touch on that a little bit. What is that?
Yeah, so I feel like there's a fine line between I use cannabis to help me, I use cannabis to function better and things like that, and then I'm getting high all the time.
Gotcha.
I really need this, or I have to smoke because of this. I feel like I got to a point in my youth, or more in my early 20s, when I was just smoking at any point I could do it. And to me, doing anything like that, whether it's picking up a drink or a joint or whatever, that's abuse of it. It's not something that I should latch onto as a crutch.
Yeah.
It should be more of what I'm doing now is I'm experimenting with it. I'm treating it as a medicine. I'm very in a moment with somebody. If I'm smoking, I'm attentive. I'm present. I'm enjoying the moment. I'm not getting high and running around. I just feel like it's really about your intention.
Okay, so setting a clear intention, allowing it to be used when you need it, and for those purposes, and not overly abused.
And if you're having fun, have fun, but control. So
it's all about how you set that intention.
Absolutely.
In that space. Do you ever do any type of prayer invocation to the plant, asking it for assistance, in your meditations?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I do, and then I also do some cannabis circles, which I host here. And in those circles, we set intentions, and we kind of open ourselves up to what we want the plant to do for us and what it can do. And always asking for mother plants to help us in our time of need.
I love that. Yeah, you touched on it just briefly when you were talking about when you tapped into your meditation and used it for that. And I wanted to kind of circle back to that, because everything has consciousness. And if you can tap in and you can ask and you can instruct or request, you can get a far better result of anything.
Absolutely. And I feel like that's why I'm here today, is just because I've kind of asked the plant what I can do to help it. And I feel like sharing it is what I can do best. So
beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Tati.
Thank you. I love you.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you. Check her out. Come to one of the classes, the circles, different things here.
Super.
And I'm sure that we will do another podcast at a certain point. If you have any questions, make sure just send them to us. We can cover those in another topic, another class, another whatever this is.
Yeah.
All right.
Deep cut.
Have a good day.
Bye, all.
Bye.
If you enjoyed this conversation, like it, subscribe, and share it with your friends. If you want some more amazing resources on your path of liberation, head over to liberateyourself.com and sign up for our mailing list. Connect with us on Facebook, Instagram at Liberate Hollywood, all one word, or Liberate Emporium, all one word. Until next time, liberate yourself.